I hope you're enjoying the day at the Jobs Expo as well. I hope you're getting lots of information and answers to any questions you have. And I suppose a very important thing, I hope your curiosity is being nurtured, which is very important, and probably why I'm here a little bit today, is to talk about how positive psychology, how the science of positive psychology can boost our well-being at work. So just to start, my name is Anna-Marie Brosi. I'm a career performance and mindset coach, and I work with Clearview coaching group here in Dublin. So they've been around for the last 17, 18 years in Dublin, and I suppose at the core of Clearview's work is to support and coach and to help people at every level within the organisation, whether you're a graduate or you're in retirement mode, just to successfully navigate your career, that you are getting the absolute most out of your career. So, and I suppose myself, I have changed my own career a number of times, and I started off in corporate, and because I'm fascinated by, I suppose, the mind and all of that, I ended up in psychotherapy, and then I qualified as a teacher, and I suppose building on these skills all the time, and teaching as well, primary school teaching, and now job sharing as I coach as well. So I finished my master's in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology a year ago. So I'm using these skills and strategies with my clients, and they're going down a storm. So that's important. So the first thing, so my talk today is how positive psychology can boost your well-being at work. So I suppose, put this in context, 2 years ago we were all sent home due to COVID and lockdown, and then some of us, the doors closed on our workplace and we never went back. Others never left the place of work, and they actually had to ramp up their work and ramp up everything we're doing, while lots of us were sent home and then brought back in, and then sent home and brought back in. So over the last 2 years, we've had this really kind of perfect place, if you like, to compare and contrast. You know, how is our careers, how are they going? How do we feel about them? And are we in the right place? And is this the right direction for us? So I just want to bring, I suppose, your attention to two words there on the screen: positive psychology, or that phrase, positive psychology, and then the other one is well-being. So I suppose, what is positive psychology? So I'm just going to start with that one, and it is basically, I'm going to point to this guy here, this man here, Martin Seligman, Professor Martin Seligman. He and his colleagues kind of decided in the late 1990s, early 2000s, that rather than, what happens if we actually focus on what is good about our lives, rather than focusing always on what is wrong with our lives, and instead of focusing on what we are not so good at, and instead of focusing on fixing ourselves and working, trying to fix our weaknesses all the time, how about if we actually focus on what is good about human beings and what makes our lives worth living, what makes us happy, and what gives depth and meaning and purpose to our lives. So positive psychology is the study of well-being, it's the study of flourishing, and it's the study of optimal human functioning. And as I said, it's simply the study of what makes our lives worth living, what is absolutely really good our lives, what makes humanity thrive, and what makes us, as I said, happy and gives us purposeful, meaningful lives, rather than just surviving from, one day to the day or one day to the next. And this applies, they've done a lot of work now. It's about 30 years. Huge amount of research has been done on the individual level, but also, how does that appear, or how does that manifest in our workplaces? Like, we spend 1/3 of our lives at work. Like, that is a huge amount of time to be spending, and it really does need to be, now it doesn't need to be perfect, but it definitely needs to be good and better than good a lot of the time. And also, we spend, it also impacts our community. So this whole area of positive psychology, it's at the individual level, it goes into our homes, into our schools, into our workplaces, and even up to a national level. So it's becoming really important at every level. So again, just want to really reiterate that as is a study of what makes humans thrive and do really well in their lives. Okay, so moving on. So I just want to, I suppose, put that in context again. And just thinking about COVID and all of these things, we've had 2 years where we've been really living in this kind of different parallel universe, if you like, for a lot of us, where we were at home and then we were back at work, then home, and I said all this earlier. So just want to ask yourself 3 questions, and just these are very introspective, and your gut instinct will jump up and tell you the answer to each one of them. And the first one is, are you happy being back at work? And actually Frank alluded to this. And I remember myself when I was younger, I live in the Northwest, and I would drive up to Dublin on a Sunday evening, have a fabulous weekend at home. And by the time I got up to Dublin, my heart and my stomach, I'd have pains in my tummy, I'd be dreading going back to work because I was not happy, in my work. And then I would spend the whole week wishing it away. By Wednesday, Thursday, I'd be coming around, and then by Friday, couldn't wait to get into the car to head back down the country again. So the whole point is, I wasted so much time wasting my life away. So, sometimes we do that, and that's okay when you're 20 or just your first job, but not when you're, not to be spending your whole career doing that. It's a very unhealthy habit. So are you happy being back at work, or do you dread going into work on the Monday or during the week, and are you wasting so much time just wishing your life away? Second question, are you feeling invigorated and engaged at work? Do you feel connected to your work? Do you feel that you're making an impact? Do you feel that you are working from a space that you are very comfortable with, and that that your skills are being used? Or do you feel that, again, just trying to get through the day, trying to get through the week, and not really living until you come home, or not really living until the weekend? Or worse than that, and I know this with a lot of my own clients, they are so exhausted by Friday that they spend the whole lot of Saturday and Sunday literally recharging so that they are ready for work again on Monday. So just that little question, are you feeling invigorated and engaged at work? And then the third question is, how much energy do you have for the office dynamics? So when I'm talking about office dynamics, I am basically referring to any place there are humans, you are going to have dynamics. Any organization, any place where there is work or people, you're going to have a culture. And a lot of the time it's that unspoken way of this is how we do things around here. And it can be very healthy, or it can be very toxic, or it can be anywhere in between. So when I'm saying how much energy do you have for the office dynamics, like, are you flattened, or are you floored by the toxicity at work? Are you managing it? Or is it a healthy place where you feel that you're thriving and you're engaged and you're very, again, connected to the people and to your purpose and meaning and all these things at work as well? So hopefully, and I know at certain points in my career, I would have answered no, and none to all of these to all of these questions. So it's just important just to feel where you are. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's just a little check-in with yourself and just to reflect. Okay, so again, I want to put this whole thing in context. We are not meant to be happy every single day of our work life. Work is it's just another part of our life, and there is this kind of idea that we should be skipping into work, we should be working full of passion and, meeting our purpose every day and all of that. And that's more pressure on us as humans to be, perfect all the time, to be living like these amazing lives. And the reality of it is, and we in Clearview, we use the 80-20 rule. So if 80% of your week or 80% of your month or your day is good, and there's 20% of your work that you just have to do it and just get on with it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So that 80-20 rule, as in 80% is grand, you feel connected, you feel good about what you do, and as I said, the 20% is you could take it or leave it, or you wish you didn't have to do it. So then you're not doing so bad. Hopefully, if it's the other way, that is 20 good, 80% really not good, then that gives you lots of scope to think about what's going on there. So again, just to think about that. And then the other part of all of this is in the last 30, 40 years, our world has changed so much, and this is due to all the technology. We have become such a globalized society, and we know this even in the last 2 years. Everything that happens in the planet really impacts Ireland these days. What happens in China impacts us here. What happens in Europe impacts us as well. So the world has become what people refer to as Vuca. And this term Vuca came out of, I think it was America in the 80s, but the US military used it after 9/11. And they used it to describe the situation because it was so out of their control. And we began to realize, actually, we don't have a lot of control, around what's going on in the world, with situations, etc. So now this term is used in the world of work, if you like. And it just refers to how volatile everything is, how uncertain things are, how complex things have got, and obviously how there is a lack of ambiguity around things as well. So it made our lives, so the demands of our jobs became more. And, we are now a 24/7 kind of world where people can have access to us all the time, 7 days a week, 365 days a year if necessary. And then we have come up with this other beautiful term, agile, which meant to meet the demands or the needs of this VUCA world, we had to become agile. So what that meant was we had to just respond faster, we had to respond better, and we had more competition. But I suppose really important, the system are humans, the organisation is made up of humans. So all of that, having to respond faster and better and, all of this kind of different levels, the amount of stress, and it just, piles on more stress, more demands, and then we have burnout. So as human beings, we kind of owe it to ourselves to kind of really keep an eye on that. And when I was growing up, or when my parents were growing up, they got a job, I didn't even get, they went to school, got out of school, and then got a job, and then they raised their family and all of that. And then when I was in school, I just got my education, and there was definitely this notion of one job for life and one career for life, and I could do whatever I wanted in that industry or in that company. That day is absolutely gone or going, and I notice even in teaching, there's no such thing as a permanent contract anymore. So they say that young 20-year-olds they are going to have at least 5 different careers in their lives. So they really need to be agile because there is nothing permanent anymore. There is so much competition and everything is changing all the time. So it makes, I suppose, as employees, it makes us just things a little bit more frantic and busier, etc. So I just want to put that in context as well. So you are not imagining things. Things have got busier. Things have got more, life has become more demanding. But that has just put more onus on organisations and on government, but also on us to manage ourselves just a little bit better as well. Okay, so going back to this here, so I suppose my aim today is how positive psychology, how the study of well-being and how people flourish, how people are happy, can boost your well-being at work. And when I talk about well-being, I'm referring to, how you feel about yourself within the world, and also how you are functioning in the world. And again, none of us are going to be happy all of our lives, all of our days, because happy is just this little moment that comes in and it goes. But it is important that we are satisfied with our life, to the most part, and that we are meeting or aligning with our, connected to whatever is important to us, and that we are also, not just aligned to that, but we are satisfied, and that we're kind of going, this is not such a bad life. You're content and satisfied, and obviously we want to be feeling good as well. But it's very important, we are human beings, we are not supposed to be happy all the time. We have all different emotions, everyone is as important as the other and as appropriate as the other. So that striving for happiness, we have to be very careful about that, because it's actually, it's like perfectionism, it doesn't actually exist. So what does determine our happiness is, and this is an interesting one, so this is a big study done in the States, Luber-Mirsky and her colleagues in 2005, I forget what the university was, but they did a lot of work on what does make us happy, or what does determine our happiness. And I know, even looking at the crowd here in front of me today, some of you are naturally more cheerful than the others. Some of you, and I see lots of people smiling, that's always a good sign. Some of you are naturally more optimistic. Some of you are naturally more pessimistic as well, and that is all fine. So this is what our genes, if you like, and 50% of our happiness is definitely determined by our genes and our genetics. The interesting one is the 10% is actually only due to our circumstances. Now, when I was growing up, and my mum and dad would always say, Anna Marie, go to college, work hard, get the job, get the house, and then you'll be happy, and then you'll be happy. So this whole idea of being happy was always something in the future, and it was something that I always had to strive for. And thankfully, the science is now very clear that actually it's actually better to be, what am I trying to say? Happiness creates success, not the other way around. Now, yes, if you work very hard, there is obviously science to dispute that as well, but happier employees are actually more productive, they are more resilient, they make more money, they are more successful, and they are happier. And this is not just at work, this is in other areas of their life as well. And when you think about it, when you are happier, you do make better decisions. You let more data in. You talk to more people. You reach out and you get help. Rather than when you're in that narrow mind or that closed space, it's very hard to get the best decision, if you like. So 10%, and a lot of studies have been around this as well, people that won the lottery, for example, because we all think when I get that next pay rise, when I get my next job or whatever, people that have won the lottery, they won big amounts of money, and then they went back to these people about 5 years later. Their happiness set point, if you like, had just reverted right back to the way it was before they won the lottery. So we have this inherent kind of happiness, if you like, and unless you're actively working on it, it's not going to change. And it's not going to be money that makes us happy, the science would suggest. It's not going to be the big house, or it's not going to be that treadmill where we are constantly comparing ourselves and striving to be better than those around us as well. So just be careful of that it's only 10% of our circumstances. Now also, I will say this as well, health is very important to our happiness, and obviously those living in poverty. So money does make a difference, but we only need enough money. After we have enough money, and again, studies would show we actually begin to get unhappy again. Which is very interesting, but health is actually very important, and health is actually one of those things that without health, life is tough on every level. So I just want to put that in there. It's an important part of that. Now, the 40%, this is the part that I work on, and this is the part that positive psychology kind of operates from. And the science and the scientists would suggest that actually we have control over 40% of what makes us happy. So this is not my boss's job, this is not my colleague's job, this is actually within my responsibility and what I can do for myself to make me happy. So if you think about it, no matter how, what your family genes are or what your circumstances are, you actually have control over how you can boost or how you can manage your own well-being or happiness at work. And this just, like we're here at the Jobs Expo today, this is not just about work, this is within your life. But because we spend so much time at work, it is so important that we actually, that our work is a good space to be in as well. So there we go. And the first thing is, and I referred to this, this is really important. So in the field we call this kind of growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So, and again, this is a question for everybody in the audience. Like, do you believe that you have control over how you feel, what you do, and how you think? And, hopefully the answer is yes, because a growth mindset would suggest that everything that happens in our lives, they are challenges, and it's how we respond to life's challenges. Life, and I alluded to this earlier, it is not a bed of roses, it is not easy. There are many challenges in all of our lives, and there are many things that, that go wrong in our lives. But it's how we respond to these challenges and how we respond to, things going on or situations at work as well is absolutely very important for our own sense of well-being. And I know myself, like every time, this is on a continuum, fixed mindset, growth mindset. Usually when you're hit with a problem or a challenge, the first place you will go to is your fixed mindset, as in, oh no, this has happened again, you start to shut down. But it's actually to become self-aware of where you're at, and then as you open up more into that growth mindset, you begin to realize this person can help me, I can do this, I can do that. And it's just more kind of like how you can respond in a positive way to your challenges. So in terms of your happiness, this is like you have to, for a lot of the time, we have to develop our own happiness or grow our own happiness or be responsible for our own happiness. So it's about knowing what you are responsible for and what is not in your control. Like you have absolutely no control of your boss or of any of your colleagues, what they do, what they say, or how they feel or how they think. But you actually have a lot of control over how you feel, how you respond, your behaviour, and how you think about things. And that is the nugget of this, if you like. And usually what happens with clients of mine, I know this for a fact, once they start to take responsibility for their own well-being and for their own happiness, one of two things happen. They realise, actually, this place is not as bad, and it was me doing a lot of this. Or the second thing was, do you know something? I need to get out of here. And I need to get out of here fast because this place is not good for me. And then we start the other conversation. But the point of today's conversation is you are actually in control of a lot of your own well-being, and it's about taking responsibility for that. And how do you do that? And positive psychology gives us a lot of strategies and interventions on how to do that. So going back to positive psychology, and I mentioned Martin Seligman, one of the founders of positive psychology. So in 2011, he created this PERMA wellbeing model, which has 5 core pillars as its main, there's 5 main things, if you like. So he believes, and the research and the science behind this would definitely show that if you work on each of these 5 areas, you will boost your well-being, and things will get better, or you'll be in a better place to make better decisions for you at work or wherever. So P is for positive emotions, E is for engagement, R refers to relationships, M is for meaning and purpose, and A is for accomplishment. So they are the 5 core pillars of the PERMA wellbeing model, which is used by positive psychology. So I'm going to start with positive emotions, which is the P of the PERMA model. And a lot of this is really common sense, and we know this, we feel this intrinsically ourselves. When we feel happier, we function better. So a lot of positive psychology, and it was the first time it was ever done, was in the last 30 years, where they looked at actually the impact of positive emotions. So when I refer to positive emotions, I'm talking about joy, awe, inspiration, curiosity, interest, all of these things that really make us feel better, and we're always trying to grasp them, because obviously they make us feel happier and they make us feel better. And the lovely thing about when we are happier, we become more solution focused, we become more creative, we become more confident, we are better in our lives. And it's simple as yourself, what do you like how many people want to be around you when you're in grouchy form, or how many people want to be around you when you are in good form. And it's as simple as that. And I suppose one thing that's really important, especially at work, is what we refer to as the negativity bias. So the whole idea behind positive emotions is that we build these positive emotions and we bank them, and then when things are bad, when we need to be resilient, when we need to cope with a situation, that's when we use them, if you like. They are in reserve, if you like. So for example, if you got 5 pieces of feedback at work, 4 amazing pieces, the one piece that you would hold on to is the negative piece. And this is really important. And people often say, why do I do that, Anna Marie? Because that is your evolution. When we were living in caves X amount of years ago, if I didn't listen to that growl in the corner, or to that rustle in the trees, or that little red flag that was coming up, I would have been eaten, I would have been killed, and so would my family. So the negative bias is very real and it's very important. So that is why when we hear something negative about ourselves, it just gets bigger. We temper it down because it's part of our evolution. Positive things were never that important back in the day. It was always the negativity, that's what kept us alive. And that's why we have survived as humans, because we listened to the internal red flags, and they are obviously, part of our mindset and of our brain. So with that in mind, Seligman and his colleagues also believe, and again, this has all got to do with neuroplasticity and how the brain works, we can train our minds to believe the better stuff, if you like, and we can train our minds that when we hear the negative feedback, we don't have to go into spiral mode and think bad about ourselves. We just try to give it the same impact as what we do the positive emotion. But we have to be aware of this negativity bias, and we have to be kind of aware of that. It's important to build our positive emotions. So one of the positive emotions is gratitude. This is one of the most researched positive emotions going. To improve your positive emotions, to improve your, how you are on a daily basis, if you start practicing deliberate gratitude just for a week, as soon as you get out of bed in the morning, what are you grateful for and why? So for example, and it could be as simple as your health, that you are able to walk, that you are able to get out of the bed, that you have another day, that for your cup of coffee, for that lovely conversation with Mary yesterday or John at work. So what your brain does, it actually starts to scan your day looking for the good stuff. And over time, and science has proved this, you will change how your brain works, and you will change, that negativity bias. And it's not that, life has a habit of, always throwing a challenge. It's not that you're going to be all happy or anything like that for the rest of your life, but it's balance. And we're trying to create a better balance in our lives. So that is your positive emotions, your first element of the well-being model. Second thing is, and Frank actually alluded to this, it is all about engagement. So, and it's the second question, do you feel invigorated? Do you feel connected at work? And connected's the wrong word. Do you feel engaged and invigorated at work? Are you using your strengths at work? Or are you always trying to fix what's wrong with you? And again, this doesn't just apply to work. So most people, 95%, the studies would say, people actually haven't a clue what their strengths are. We can see strengths in others, but not in ourselves. So it was really important that we can identify the stuff that we are good at. And we need to be playing to our strengths a lot more than we are. And again, it's not going to be 100% of the time, but just to increase it. So the trick is to identify our strengths and then to start deliberately using them. So that picture on the board there, that is character strengths. So it's all you have to do is look up, it's not on the board there, it's via www.via organization or viacharacter.org, and it's a tried and tested scientific online assessment to find out what your character strengths are. But we also have our strengths at work. So just ask 3 people that you know well, one in family, a friend, and even a colleague at work. What 3 things would they say about you and why? And then literally start to say, just to compare them. And you will see the themes coming up and the common themes coming up. And also maybe to develop your own self-awareness at work, spend the week or a day, what do I love about this job? So literally just get a page, A4 page, line down the middle, what I love and what I don't love. And the things that you love, these are the bits and pieces that you should be doing lots of. And it's a very interesting list. Hopefully the love list will be a bit longer than the other list. But you need to be working to your strengths, everybody, because if we're not, then we're struggling. Like, for example, again, I know my weaknesses very well, and one of them is technology. This is working so far, so good, so fingers crossed. But I'm really afraid of technology. I'm not good with it, so I've just spent half the time crossing my fingers. So if I was working in IT or something like that, or not in IT, but in something where I have to be very good at this technology, I would be struggling all the time because I am innately, it is something that I just, no matter how I try to fix it or make it better, it's just not my thing. Whereas I love working with people and I love being a coach and I'm very curious about people. So I could chat to people all day because I'm really interested in people and curious. So that is my strength, if you like. So again, it's to identify your strengths and to start deliberately using them more at work. And again, the science says, same with positive emotions, better psychological well-being, more optimism, less stress, less depression, and less negativity. And this is scientifically proven, physiologically proven as well, not just people saying it. So this is the real science behind this. Relationships is next. So I suppose really important here, none of us are islands, and one of the basic things about humans is that we want to belong, and we need to belong, and we need to connect. And that became really true around COVID. That connection was kind of gone, if you like, for a while. So it's a very important part of being human is our connection with others. So again, I'm going back to the fact that we could spend 1/3 of our lives at work. So we really do need to invest in our relationships at work, if you like. And by investing in our relationships at work, it influences our well-being. And I suppose one good way to know when you know yourself, if you're in a toxic, if there's stuff going on at work and the atmosphere at work is very negative, or there's a negative relationship with a boss or with a colleague, it really impacts people. It really has a negative impact on people. So investing in relationships at work simply means, and this is a nice little activity, who really energizes you at work? Who do you have a conversation with or a chat with? And when you leave the conversation, you feel good about yourself. And the opposite of that is who, when you talk to them at work, you feel absolutely drained, you feel wrecked afterwards. So that is the person you need to look at. And that is the person is kind of, now, I'm not referring to friends or people that are going through tough times, but just that constant, it's how you engage with people at work, and how you kind of invest in your relationships at work is really important. So the other side of that then is like, what do you like at work? Are you a very negative, kind of whingy, giving out all the time person, or are you a radiator? Are you somebody that people want to be around? And again, this applies not just to work, but at home, in the community. And we have impact on people, and people impact us. So it's to note that and to see that, and what is in your control. And I'm going back to that part at the beginning. The only person that you can actually control is yourself, how you think and how you feel and how you behave. But it is important that we invest in our relationships at work, because we are people and we need that connection. Okay, so that's that part. Next part is meaning and purpose. And I suppose it is a problem. People think when I talk about meaning and purpose, some grandiose, I'm going to change the world and I'm going to do this or whatever. We all have different meaningful life goals. We all have different ideas of what's important to us, of what gives us purpose and what it gives us meaning in our lives. And they change from when we're 20 to when we're 40 to when we're 50 to when we're 60. But the real important thing for everybody at whatever stage of your life is that you can actually connect with your own purpose and your own sense of meaning in your life. So sometimes if your purpose at work is to get the kids through college, then perfect, that is it. If your purpose at work is to get through the day so that you can get home out that door at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock so that you can be at home with your family, that's purpose. If you want to, be, like, say for me, I suppose my purpose and meaning is I work with people all the time, so that's my purpose. Again, I'm going back to, if I was working in a place where it was all about computers, I would not be connected to my meaning or to my purpose. So it is knowing your own meaning and what gives you purpose in your life. And when we are connected to our life goals, then our work becomes better, we become happier, and we become more resilient as well. Because some of us are in tough jobs, but we're there for very good reasons. And it's the very good reason, that's the part we need to hang on to. And that's the part that gives us purpose and meaning. So that is that. And then the last part of the PERMA model is A for accomplishment. And I just want to revert back to what I talked about Vuca and COVID and everything that's going on in the world. Everything has become more busier. We have become more busier. And by becoming more busier, we are actually forgetting to acknowledge all that we are all that we are doing right in our lives, all that we are trying to do in our lives. And we're just quickly moving on and on and on. So there's no sense of kind of accomplishments. There's no acknowledgement of what we do, and sometimes it's not up to our boss to do that for us. We actually have to start by doing it for ourselves. And if you are a manager or if you are somebody's boss, it's really important that you acknowledge your teams what they have kind of done in the last week or month, and it only takes a few words. You don't have to throw a big party or go away on holidays. It is just to acknowledge it and to really kind of just have the coffee, have the chat, just say the kind words. That's all people need. It's just acknowledgement. But we need to do it for ourselves as well. And it's to do that with the small wins. If we're waiting for our performance review, if we're waiting until the end of the year, or if we're waiting until that big project is in, that is too long. And before you know, we're going to keep pushing out goalposts, and we're never going to get there. And we just turn more into that busyness that everybody seems to be falling into. So it's about taking the time to reflect and realize, I have done this. I'm going to just think about this for a few minutes before I move on. And what I'd say to clients is, get yourself a learning log. We learn things all the time. What new things have you done this week? What new things have you learned this week? And if you did that once a week, by the end of the year, you would have 52 new things that you learned that year. So you are constantly, thriving and striving and doing well, but we don't stop to acknowledge it. So again, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of mastery, where we get, our brain is always looking to, get over things and to move on to the next thing, if you like. But if we're not noticing that and celebrating that, then the opportunity is gone. So, and I suppose the lovely thing about this as well, if you do work on those 5 areas of your well-being, not just you is going to benefit, your family is going to benefit, your friends are going to benefit, people at work are going to benefit. You are, by developing your self-awareness, by kind of growing your own and taking responsibility for your well-being and for your own happiness, has such an impact on everybody around you. And like I suppose one way to the contrast of that is, when you are down, when you are not in good form, and this is, chronic and over a long period of time, what's the impact of that on, not just on you, but on everybody that you care about as well? And by doing this work, you realize you make better decisions. You kind of decide, okay, maybe I do need to get out of this company. Maybe I do need to change out of this department. Maybe I do need to get out of this industry. So you start making better decisions for you and for your family. Okay. So just to recap, I hope I've given you some food for thought. Positive psychology is all about, Seligman's his well-being model is based on positive emotions. So grow your gratitude for this. Every day, 5 days, deliberately, what I'm grateful for and why. It'll honestly improve your day. Second thing is engagement. Start to identify your strengths. If you're a manager, start to identify and say to your people, you will change their day. You will absolutely really make a good impression on somebody that day. We need to be working from a place of our strengths, not trying to fix our weaknesses. Relationships, be a radiator, not a drain, and try to minimize the contact with the people that are wearing you down and draining you. It's very important that, as I said, a lot of studies have shown as well, a lot of reasons why people go to work is because of the colleagues they work with. It's not because of the job, it's because of the good colleagues they have. Meaning and purpose is really important. It's different for everybody. Know yours, connect with yours. You do not have to go to India to find your meaning and purpose, or go to the other end of the planet. People would always say that when we were growing up, you need to go traveling to find your purpose. Your purpose is always here. Just connect, just take a few moments, and it's, you're probably, hopefully living your purpose, but just connect with it. It's so important. And then the final part is accomplishment. Acknowledge your small wins. Don't be waiting for the big stuff. It's to acknowledge and to celebrate your small wins. If you're a manager, a team leader, acknowledge the small wins of your team. Again, you will have a positive impact on lots of people. And the green part, you have control over that. You actually can impact your happiness by taking responsibility for what you control, your feelings, your thoughts, your thinking and your behaviour, and forgetting about trying to control everybody else's. And out of that, once you start to do that, once you develop your self-awareness, once you develop that kind of relationship with yourself where your well-being is really important, then you will start to make better decisions, not just at work, but outside of work as well, and for your work and for your career as well. Okay, that's me done. So there's my details. You'll find me on LinkedIn there. As I said, I work with the Clearview coaching group, and there's my address as well. So if anybody has any questions or anything, I'd be glad to help or answer, try to answer.
That's absolutely fantastic. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone? I just want to ask one question, Anna Marie. So a lot of us, I think, suffer with imposter syndrome at their work. Is that a normal feeling? And is, not to put you on the spot, but is there any quick tips to how to kind of get rid of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So imposter syndrome, actually 80% of us suffer imposter syndrome. When I was sitting down there in that chair, I wanted to leg it. That's my imposter syndrome. So I suppose it's kind of the whole thing with imposter, and they call it imposter as a phenomenon now or something like that. Though it's not even a syndrome anymore. But it's kind of everybody, most people have it, and at some point in their career. And the whole thing, if you do have a little bit of imposter syndrome, or if it is very bad, just notice the triggers. When does it present itself? When does it come up? And usually your imposter syndrome is a core limiting belief going right back to your childhood, and it's just kind of, some of our conditioning from our childhood or from from being an adolescent or a teenager. So it's to notice the triggers, what creates it, what is it saying, and literally just to calm it down, because you're usually talking, that voice in your head is usually a child speaking, so you have to kind of talk to it like a child as well, and that's the kind of psychology, or some of the psychology behind it, and just to kind of coax it and just calm it down. The worst thing I could have done earlier was ran out the door, and I didn't, but it usually peaks and then it goes away again, and it's just to nurture, not nurture it, but just to nurture the coaxing it, if you like, and just telling it, it's okay, I have this, which sounds mad, but this is actually how we deal with imposter syndrome, because it can have absolutely devastating effects and impact for people as well. So he's talking to somebody else, but does that answer you for you? Is that a few tips? So okay, have you any questions? Has anybody any questions or like to ask me anything? Yeah. Imposter syndrome is basically where you actually really think, I shouldn't be here, I'm not good enough, these people in the room are all better than me. Like, say for example, the speakers up here, they're all better than me, I'm not good enough. It's all this kind of negative thinking that really holds us back. And what I was saying to the audience was, usually it comes from a core limiting belief that would have been just from being a child or from being a young adolescent, and our conditioning. 80% of people suffer from imposter syndrome, and what it does is we need to really manage it, and we manage it through kind of recognizing it, knowing our triggers, and then when it appears, literally just, even deep breaths and just literally talking to it like a child. It's okay. It's, you're not going to, like in my case, run out the door. You're going to be fine, and all of that. Does that help? Okay.
That's perfect. Okay, if you could please put your hands together for Anne-Marie Brosi. That was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that.